I'd like if you could start off by just telling us a bit about how the network can help with social inclusion in Africa.
The network is just a platform to access. It's a mechanism for us to access the citizens of the country, and by the same token, it's a network that allows the citizen to touch the state. And in terms of how we reach out to the citizen, given the fact that it's going to be a virtual environment, our view is that the cost of that access is going to be considerably less in the long run and of a better quality, because we can now customize the service that we're giving to that citizen. So for us, it's a sustainable way of us providing the service that we're constitutionally required to provide to the citizen. Now, in the reverse form, the ability to really drive democracy to a people-led process is something that can happen in a way that empowers the individual, rather than the way that it's happening right now, which means that you speak to your representatives of government in protest, in anger. It's, for us, a much more mature way for our democracy to develop above and beyond the delivery of social services.
What about the role of the network specifically within education and how you might be able to promote education through network technologies?
We have actually, in the province of Gauteng, been running an education program called Gauteng Online for quite a while, about 5 years. And the original concept of this program was really focused on content. And foolishly enough, we hadn't given much thought to the idea that we needed to invest both capital resources and human resources in establishing the infrastructure and the platform upon which we would put that content. We wanted to make the concept of learning a continuous event, whether it's someone who has very little or no education or whether it's someone who's very, very educated. There is a universal understanding that you never stop learning. In our view, putting that capability, giving people access to the process of teaching themselves, improving our distant learning process, is something that allows us to reach out into those communities in the absence of schools, teachers, and other infrastructure. We have lots of specialists in the area of math and science, but certainly not enough to cover our population of children, over 22 million children in South Africa. Through our networked education, we can take our specialists and we can bring them to any neighborhood, any living room in the home of that student as and when they're required.
The work that you're doing in South Africa very much involves the private sector, and I wondered what your thoughts were on the potential for success given the involvement of private sector partners such as Cisco.
We have gone through a very meticulous process to understand what our needs are as a client, government as a client, to the private sector and to Cisco in particular. And we've also been going through a learning process in terms of understanding the requirements of our citizens, meeting those basic service delivery needs. What we look for in a partnership is we look for an ability to interact about those requirements and to co-design the products and the services. We're not looking for things that come on a shelf. We're looking for the kind of private sector participants that are prepared to be partners rather than a sales and distribution network for some of their existing products.
South Africa right now is a very exciting place to be, clearly. There's a lot going on, also a lot of challenges. How do you see the role of the country in general emerging?
Right now, South Africa is the second largest economy in Africa. But we are just as concerned about the fourth, the eighth, country number 10. We need to operate more as a region, and what we're looking for is regional cooperation, and South Africa is really a good teacher in terms of providing that to our neighbors. There are challenges at our front doorstep, and we are facing those challenges head on. But looking beyond that doorstep and looking into the rest of the continent and working as brothers and sisters in Africa about driving growth and development is something that's really core to what we see as a country in terms of international development.